The colony ship moved slowly through space. It was called the New Hope, and it carried 15,000 people to a new world. Families sat together in the common rooms. Children played games and laughed. Parents talked about their future homes. Everyone was excited. Captain Hanacho was on patrol nearby. Her small warship was only 2 hours away from the colony ship. Everything seemed peaceful. The scanner showed empty space ahead. Nothing dangerous. Nothing wrong. Then the alarm went off. Hana jumped from her seat. The scanner now showed many ships. Big warships. They appeared from nowhere right next to the New Hope. Her hands shook as she read the data. 20 enemy warships surrounded the colony ship. The colony ship sent a distress call. The voice was panicked and scared. Then weapons fire lit up the scanner. The enemy was shooting. They were shooting at the defenseless colony ship. Hana ordered her ship to go faster. She needed to help them. But she was too far away. 2 hours was too long. The enemy ships were already there. They were already killing. The New Hope tried to run. It had no weapons. It could only try to escape. But the enemy ships were faster. They caught it easily. Then they fired again and again. The colony ship's hull broke apart. Explosions ripped through the levels where families lived. People tried to escape. Small pods launched from the dying ship. Mothers held their children tight as the pods flew away. Maybe they would survive. Maybe someone would save them. But the enemy did something horrible. Something that made Hana feel sick. The enemy ships turned their weapons on the escape pods. One by one, they destroyed them. They hunted down every small pod, every lifeboat. They wanted no survivors. Hana watched it happen on her scanner. She could do nothing. She was still too far away. Her crew sat in shock. Nobody spoke. They all knew what they were seeing. This was not war. This was murder. When Hana's ship finally arrived, the enemy was gone. Only wreckage remained. Pieces of the colony ship floated in space. Bodies drifted among the debris. So many bodies. Adults and children frozen in death. Hana ordered her crew to search for survivors. They found one escape pod, just one. Inside were 27 people. Most were injured. All were traumatized. A little girl, maybe 8 years old, sat in the corner. She did not speak. She did not cry. She just stared at nothing. The medical officer told Hana that the girl watched her parents die. She saw them sucked into space when the pod was hit. The pod's emergency seal saved the child, but not her family. Hana went to the bridge and sent a message to Earth. She tried to keep her voice steady, but she could not. The words came out broken and angry. 15,000 people were dead. 3,000 were children. The enemy had hunted them down like animals. Admiral Taemin Kim received the message during dinner. He was at home with his nephew. The boy was talking about school. Then Kim's emergency phone buzzed. He read the message once, then again. His face went pale. His sister was on the New Hope. She was the chief medical officer. She was excited about the new colony. She sent him a message just yesterday talking about the hospital she would build. Now she was dead. Kim put down his chopsticks. He stood up slowly. His nephew asked if something was wrong. Kim did not answer. He walked to his study and closed the door. Then he made one phone call to military headquarters. Across Earth, other families got similar news. Lieutenant Unisong was at the academy when her commander called her in. He sat her down and told her gently. Her parents were on the New Hope. Her younger brother, too. Her fiancé was also there. They were all going to start a new life together. Now they were all gone. Una did not cry. She sat very still for a long moment. Then she asked her commander to transfer her to combat duty. He tried to tell her to take time to grieve. She refused. She wanted to fight. The enemy sent a message to Earth. It came from their leader, War Master Thrak. He said the colony ship was carrying weapons. He said humans were trespassing in his space. He demanded that Earth give him 3 colonies as payment for his trouble. But everyone knew the truth. Captain Hana had the recordings. The colony ship had no weapons. It was in neutral space, and worst of all, the enemy destroyed the escape pods on purpose. They murdered children who were trying to escape. Earth's government met in emergency session. The president looked at the recordings. She watched the escape pods being destroyed. She saw the bodies of children floating in space. When the video ended, she sat in silence. Then she gave one order. Prepare for war. The Galactic Council building stood tall on the neutral world of Sanctuary Prime. Representatives from 47 different species gathered there. They came for an emergency meeting about the attack on the human colony ship. High Counselor Vren called the meeting to order. Vren was a being made of crystal who lived for thousands of years. He had seen many conflicts. He always believed in peace through talking and negotiation. He thought this situation would be the same. The Velcrian representative stood first. He was tall and covered in dark scales. He spoke in a proud voice. He said the colony ship was carrying weapons. He said humans were invading Velcrian space. He offered to pay 10 million credits as a goodwill gesture. Many council members nodded. This was how things were usually handled. Someone paid some money. Everyone shook hands. Peace continued. They expected the humans to accept this deal. Then Ambassador Jin Park stood up. He was Earth's new representative. He used to be a prosecutor who put criminals in jail. Now he represented humanity to the galaxy. He carried a datapad in his hand. Park did not say anything at first. He just pressed a button. A holographic display appeared in the center of the council chamber. It showed the recording from Captain Hana's ship. The council watched in silence. They saw the colony ship being attacked. They saw it break apart. Then they saw the worst part. The Velcrian ships hunting down escape pods, shooting at lifeboats full of families, killing people who were trying to run away. One scene showed a mother holding 2 small children in an escape pod. The pod tried to flee. A Velcrian warship fired. The pod exploded. The mother and children died instantly. When the video ended, nobody spoke. The chamber was completely quiet. Even the Velcrian representative looked uncomfortable. Park finally spoke. His voice was cold and hard. He said that 15,000 innocent civilians were murdered. 3,000 of them were children. The Velcrians hunted down survivors on purpose. They destroyed rescue ships. They wanted everyone dead, Park continued. He said there would be no negotiations. There would be no mediation. There would be no peace talks. There would only be justice. High Counselor Vren tried to interrupt. He said the galaxy had maintained peace for 500 years through diplomacy. He begged Park to reconsider. War would harm everyone. Surely humans could accept some compensation and move forward. Park looked at Vren with hard eyes. He said that peace built on ignoring the murder of children was not real peace. It was cowardice. It was letting killers go free because stopping them was inconvenient. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives agreed with Park. Others called him unreasonable. Many were afraid. They had never seen someone refuse to negotiate before. Park raised his hand for silence. He delivered Earth's ultimatum. The Velcrian Dominion had 48 hours to surrender War Master Thrak and every officer involved in the massacre. They would face trial for their crimes. If the Velcrians refused, humanity would consider the entire Dominion guilty. The Velcrian representative laughed. He called humans a weak species from a backwater planet. He said the Velcrian fleet would crush Earth's primitive ships. He said humans would learn their place in the galaxy. Park did not react to the insults. He simply began reading names. One by one, he read the name of every child who died on the New Hope, their ages, their dreams, what they wanted to be when they grew up. He read for an hour. The council chamber was silent again. Many representatives looked down at their desks. Some had tears in their eyes. The Velcrian representative stopped laughing. When Park finished, he looked directly at the Velcrian. He said that every single one of those children had a right to live. Every one of them had a future. The Velcrians took that away, and humanity would not forget. Humanity would not forgive, and humanity would never negotiate with killers. Park left the chamber. The ultimatum was delivered. 48 hours. That was all the time the Velcrians had to make things right. Back on Earth, Admiral Kim received confirmation that Park had delivered the message. Now it was time to prepare. Kim looked at his fleet commanders on the video screen. He gave them simple orders. Ready every ship. Prepare every weapon. Train every soldier. War was coming. War Master Thrak watched the council meeting from his command ship. He saw Park's ultimatum. He saw the video of his ships destroying the colony ship. He did not care. Strength was all that mattered in the galaxy. The weak deserved to die. Thrak sent his response immediately. He refused the ultimatum. He said he would not surrender. Instead, he would invade Earth itself. He would make an example of humanity. He would show the galaxy what happened to species that did not know their place. When Earth received Thrak's response, there was no panic. No fear. The president read the message and nodded. She expected this. Killers never surrendered willingly. They had to be stopped by force. The 48 hours passed. The deadline came and went. The Valkyrians did not surrender. They prepared for war instead. So humanity prepared too. But the galaxy did not know what was coming. They thought this would be a normal war. Quick battles, some deaths, then negotiations, then peace. They were wrong. Humanity was not interested in normal war. Humanity wanted justice, and they would get it no matter what it cost. The galaxy expected Earth to defend its borders. They expected humanity to build defenses around their home system. They expected humans to wait for the Valkyrian invasion fleet. Instead, Earth attacked. Admiral Kim did not wait for the enemy to come to him. He launched 12 strike fleets simultaneously. Each fleet had one mission: destroy Valkyrian military targets. The largest fleet, commanded by Kim himself, headed straight for Valkyrian Prime, the enemy homeworld. War Master Thrak was surprised. No species had ever attacked the Valkyrians before. Everyone always negotiated. Everyone always backed down. But humans were different. They came with weapons ready and anger in their hearts. The first battle happened at Threshold Station. This was a large Valkyrian military base near the border. Captain Hana commanded the attack. Her dreadnought, the Indomitable, led 50 warships against the station. The Valkyrians defending the station were confident. They had strong shields and powerful weapons. They had fought many battles before, but they had never fought humans. Hana ordered her ships to fire. What happened next shocked the Valkyrians. Human weapons were far more advanced than anyone expected. Plasma beams cut through shields like they were paper. Missiles tracked targets with perfect accuracy. Railguns fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. The battle lasted 47 minutes. Threshold Station was completely destroyed. Every Valkyrian warship was either destroyed or surrendered. Human losses were minimal. 3 ships damaged, none destroyed. Hana broadcast a message on all Valkyrian channels. She said this destruction was for the children of the New Hope. She said justice was coming, and she said that any Valkyrian officer who participated in the massacre would receive no mercy. The Galactic Council watched the battle through long-range sensors. They were stunned. High Counselor Vren called an emergency session. He demanded that Earth stop the attack immediately. Ambassador Park attended the meeting via hologram. He listened to Vren's demands calmly. Then he presented new evidence. He showed records of 3 other species that had been attacked by Valkyrians in the past 10 years. Each time the Council negotiated peace. Each time the Valkyrians paid some money. Each time the killings were forgotten. Park asked a simple question. How many more children must die before someone says enough? How long would the Council let the Valkyrians kill innocents just to maintain false peace? Nobody answered him. They all knew he was right. But they were too afraid to admit it. Back in Earth's weapons research facility, Dr. Suji Kang watched the battle reports. Her weapons worked even better than she predicted. The plasma cannons were devastating. The quantum torpedoes were unstoppable. The gravity well generators trapped enemy ships perfectly. She felt proud of her work. But she also felt heavy guilt. She created these weapons to protect innocent people. Now she saw how efficiently they killed. She told her assistant that creating weapons of war was a burden she would carry forever. Lieutenant Yuna Song flew her fighter in the second wave of attacks. Her squadron hit a Valkyrian supply depot. Her flying was perfect, cold and precise. She destroyed 3 enemy ships without taking a single hit. Other pilots started calling her Ghost. They said she appeared like a phantom, killed her targets, and vanished before the enemy could react. Yuna did not care about the nickname. She only cared about making the Valkyrians pay for killing her family. Over the next 2 weeks, human forces struck 12 more Valkyrian military bases. Each attack was swift and brutal. The Valkyrians tried to defend themselves, but human technology was too advanced. Human tactics were too good. Human soldiers were too determined. War Master Thrak realized he had made a terrible mistake. He underestimated humanity. He thought they were weak. He thought they would negotiate like everyone else. Now his empire was burning and he could not stop it. Thrak tried to negotiate. He sent a message to Admiral Kim offering to surrender some officers. Kim refused. The ultimatum was clear. All war criminals must face justice, including Thrak himself. There would be no partial surrender, no bargaining, no deals. Thrak grew desperate. He ordered his forces to take human prisoners. He thought he could use them as hostages. He thought he could force Earth to stop the war. His forces captured 50 human soldiers during a raid. Thrak threatened to execute them if Earth did not cease all military operations within 24 hours. Admiral Kim received the threat. His staff waited for his response. Some thought he would negotiate to save the prisoners. They were wrong. Kim's response was cold and simple. He said that Earth does not negotiate with killers. The threat meant nothing. The war would continue. Justice would be served. Then Kim did something that shocked even his own officers. He accelerated the attack timeline. He ordered all fleets to push harder, to move faster, to hit more targets. He added the names of Thrak's execution squads to his list of war criminals. Thrak carried out his threat. He executed all 50 prisoners publicly. He broadcast it across the galaxy. He thought it would break human resolve. It did not. It only made humanity more determined, more focused, more unstoppable. The galaxy watched in awe and fear. They had never seen anything like this. Humanity was not just fighting a war. They were delivering judgment, and nothing would stop them until justice was done. 3 weeks into the war, human forces reached Velkrin IV. This was a major industrial world where the Velkrians built weapons and warships. Colonel Daejung Lee commanded the ground invasion force. He had 12,000 Marines ready for battle. The Velkrians had strong defenses on the planet. Bunkers, shields, and many soldiers. They thought they could hold out for months. They were wrong. Colonel Lee used tactics the Velkrians had never seen. His forces attacked from multiple directions at once. Dropships landed troops behind enemy lines. Artillery provided cover fire. Drones scouted ahead and marked targets. Everything worked together like a perfect machine. The Velkrian defenders fought back hard. The battle was brutal and bloody, but human training was superior. Human weapons were better, and human soldiers fought with a determination born from righteous anger. During the assault, Lee's scouts found something unexpected. Hidden in the mountains was a prison camp. Inside were hundreds of civilians from other alien species. They were prisoners, forced to work in terrible conditions. Some had been there for years. Lee immediately changed his battle plans. He diverted forces to rescue the prisoners. This slowed his attack on the military targets. Some of his officers questioned the decision. They said the mission was to destroy military facilities, not rescue civilians. Lee looked at them with hard eyes. He said they were fighting because the Velkrians murdered innocents. If humans ignored suffering to achieve military goals faster, they would become no better than the enemy. The rescue mission would proceed. The Marines broke into the prison camp. They found prisoners who were sick, starving, and scared. Many had been tortured. Some had watched their families killed. All had been told nobody would ever rescue them. When the prisoners saw human soldiers, they could not believe it. Someone actually came for them. Someone cared enough to save them. Many cried with relief. Lee personally helped carry wounded prisoners to the medical ships. He made sure everyone was fed and treated with respect. When reporters later asked him about slowing his military advance, he said, saving innocents was always the priority. The freed prisoners told their stories to the galaxy. They described years of Velkrian cruelty. The Galactic Council could no longer ignore the truth. The Velkrians were not just aggressive. They were systematic abusers who had been getting away with crimes for decades. Meanwhile, Captain Hana pushed toward the Hegemony Gate. This was a massive defensive station that protected the route to Velkrian Prime. 200 warships defended it. It was the last major obstacle before reaching the enemy homeworld. Hana studied the defenses carefully. She could not attack head-on. Too many ships, too many guns. She needed a different approach. She split her fleet into 3 groups. One group attacked from the front, drawing enemy fire. The second group circled around the side. The third group, including her dreadnought, came from above where the defenses were weakest. The battle was fierce. Ships exploded on both sides. The space around the gate lit up with weapons fire. But Hana's tactics worked. The Velkrians could not defend all directions at once. Slowly, the human forces pushed through. After 8 hours of fighting, the Hegemony Gate fell. The Velkrians lost half their defending fleet. The survivors retreated toward their homeworld. The path to Valkyrian Prime was now open. War Master Thrak watched the battle from his command bunker on the planet below. He saw his defenses crumble. He saw his ships destroyed. For the first time in his life, he felt real fear. Thrak called his generals together. He told them to prepare a final message to Earth. He would offer peace. He would surrender some territory. He would pay reparations. Surely the humans would accept now that they had won so many victories. Admiral Kim received the message. He read it once. Then he deleted it without responding. Thrak still did not understand. This was not about territory. This was not about money. This was about justice for murdered children. And there would be no peace until every war criminal faced judgment. Ambassador Lyros from the Thanari Empire secretly met with Ambassador Park. Lyros was from a military culture. She understood warfare. She told Park that many council species were quietly supporting Earth. They were tired of seeing the Valkyrians get away with cruelty. Lyros admitted something else. During the war, she had been secretly giving intelligence to human forces. Locations of Valkyrian bases, movements of their fleets. She did this because she believed humanity was right. Someone needed to stop the Valkyrians. The council would not do it, so she helped those who would. Park thanked her for the help. He said that after the war, the galaxy would need species like the Thanari to build a better system. A system where justice mattered more than convenient peace. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Yuna led a dangerous mission deep into Valkyrian territory. She learned that some of the executed human prisoners came from her hometown. She volunteered to strike back at the officers responsible. Her squadron attacked 3 command ships in one night. All 3 were destroyed. Yuna flew through enemy fire like she could not be touched. Her wingmate said she fought with a cold precision that was almost frightening. High Counselor Vren made one last desperate plea. He contacted Earth's president directly. He begged her to stop the war. He said too much blood had been spilled already. He promised the council would reform. He promised things would be different. The president listened patiently. Then she said something that silenced Vren. She said that peace built on accepting the murder of children was not peace. It was cowardice. And Earth would not be part of it anymore. The war continued. Human forces pushed closer to Valkyrian Prime. Justice was coming. And nothing could stop it. Admiral Kim's fleet finally reached Valkyrian Prime. The enemy homeworld was heavily defended. 3 massive orbital platforms surrounded the planet. 200 warships patrolled the space above. War Master Thrak had retreated to his command bunker on the surface. He was confident his defenses could not be broken, but Kim did not attack immediately. Instead, he did something unexpected. He began broadcasting a message on all frequencies. Every radio, every screen, every communication device on Valkyrian Prime received it. Kim read the names. All 15,000 people who died on the New Hope. He read their names, their ages, their jobs, their dreams. He described who they were and what they hoped to become. He did not rush. He took his time with each name, making sure every single victim was remembered. It took 14 hours. Kim sat in his command chair and read for 14 straight hours. His voice grew hoarse, but he did not stop. His staff brought him water, but he barely drank. He was determined that every Valkyrian citizen would hear the names of those their government murdered. The effect on Valkyrian Prime was devastating. Citizens who supported the war began to question it. They heard the names of children, babies, teachers, doctors, artists, ordinary people who just wanted to build a new home. Many Valkyrians had believed Thrak's propaganda. They thought the colony ship carried weapons. They thought humanity was the aggressor. Now they heard the truth. Their government had murdered innocent families. Their military had hunted down children in escape pods. When Kim finished reading the last name, he sat in silence for a full hour. His officers did not disturb him. They knew he was thinking of his sister. Her name was on that list. So were her children. Finally, Kim stood up. He gave the order to attack. Dr. Suji Kang had prepared a new weapon for this battle, orbital siege cannons that could crack planetary shields. The technology was incredibly powerful, but it was also precise. It could target military installations without harming civilians. The cannons fired. Blue beams of concentrated energy struck the shields protecting Valkyrian Prime. The shields held for a few moments. Then they began to crack. Then they shattered. The orbital platforms were now exposed. Captain Hana led the assault on the first platform. Her dreadnought and 20 other ships attacked together. The platform's defenders fought desperately. They knew if they failed, the war was over. The battle lasted 8 hours. Human forces used boarding parties to take the platform section by section. Marines fought through corridors and rooms. The fighting was close and brutal. Finally, the platform's commander realized he could not win. He contacted Captain Hana and offered to surrender. Hana accepted. She ordered her Marines to stop fighting and take prisoners. Some of Hana's crew questioned this decision. These were the same species that murdered the New Hope. Why show them mercy? Why not just kill them all? Hana gathered her officers and explained. She said they were fighting because the Velcrians killed innocent people. If humans started executing prisoners and surrendered enemies, they would become no different from those they fought against. The moral high ground mattered. It was what separated justice from revenge. The Velcrian prisoners were surprised by how they were treated. They expected torture or execution. Instead, they received medical care, food, respect. Many of them realized that humans were not the monsters Thrak had described. The second and third platforms fell over the next 2 days. Each time, human forces accepted surrenders and treated prisoners well. Word spread quickly. Velcrian soldiers began to realize they had been lied to. Humanity was not trying to exterminate them. Humanity wanted justice, not genocide. War Master Thrak watched his defenses collapse. He grew more desperate with each passing hour. Finally, he made a terrible decision. He ordered his forces to launch nuclear weapons at his own cities. He planned to blame humanity for civilian casualties. He thought this would turn the galaxy against Earth, but Thrak's own officers refused. They had heard Admiral Kim's broadcast. They had seen how humans treated prisoners. They knew Thrak was willing to murder his own people just to maintain power. The officers arrested Thrak. They locked him in his own bunker. Then they contacted Admiral Kim directly. They wanted to negotiate surrender. They were willing to hand over all war criminals for trial. They wanted the killing to stop. Kim listened to their offer. Then he contacted Ambassador Park to prepare the surrender terms. The terms would be harsh but fair. The Velcrian military would be dismantled. All war criminals would face trial. The Dominion would make restitution to victims' families, but the Velcrian people would not be punished collectively. Civilians would not be harmed. The planet would not be occupied permanently. This was about justice, not conquest. The Velcrian officers agreed to the terms. They opened their bunker and surrendered Thrak to human forces. Colonel Lee's Marines entered the bunker peacefully. They took Thrak into custody without violence. Thrak looked at the human soldiers with hatred. He spat at them and cursed. He said they were weak for not killing him immediately. He said strength was all that mattered in the universe. Colonel Lee looked at Thrak with cold eyes. He said that Thrak would face trial. He would answer for his crimes in front of the entire galaxy, and history would remember him not as strong, but as a coward who murdered children and then hid in a bunker. Thrak was transported to a secure facility to await trial. 47 other officers who participated in the New Hope massacre were also arrested. The galaxy would finally see justice delivered. The war was over. Humanity had won. But more importantly, humanity had won without losing its principles. They fought with overwhelming force but showed mercy to those who surrendered. They delivered justice without becoming monsters themselves. The galaxy watched and learned. Perhaps there was a better way after all. The trial took place on Sanctuary Prime, the same world where the Galactic Council met. A special tribunal was assembled with judges from 7 neutral species. None of them had connections to either humanity or the Velcrian Dominion. Billions across the galaxy watched the proceedings. This was not just about punishing war criminals. This was about establishing a new standard, a line in the sand that said some acts were unforgivable. Ambassador Jin Park served as the chief prosecutor. He had spent weeks preparing. He gathered evidence, interviewed survivors, and reviewed every piece of data from the attack. His case was thorough and overwhelming. War Master Thrak sat in the defendant's chair. He wore chains but still tried to look proud and defiant. 47 other Velcrian officers sat beside him. All of them were charged with crimes against innocent civilians. Park began by presenting the evidence. He showed sensor logs from Captain Hana's ship. The data proved the colony ship had no weapons. It was clearly marked as a civilian vessel. It was in neutral space, not Velcrian territory. Then Park showed the recordings of the attack. The tribunal watched as Valkyrian warships systematically destroyed the New Hope. They watched as escape pods were hunted down. They watched as children died trying to flee. Park played the communications between Valkyrian ships. The officers talked casually about hunting escape pods. They made jokes about it. They competed to see who could destroy the most. There was no remorse, no hesitation, only cruelty. The courtroom was completely silent. Even the defendants looked uncomfortable. The evidence was undeniable. Park called the survivors to testify. 27 people who lived through the massacre. Each one told their story. A man who watched his wife die, a woman who lost all 3 of her children, the 8-year-old girl who saw her parents sucked into space. Their testimonies were heartbreaking. Many in the courtroom cried. The judges listened carefully to every word. They understood that these were not just statistics. These were real people who suffered unimaginable loss. Thrak's defense lawyer tried to argue that Valkyrian culture valued strength. He said they were following their own laws and customs. He said different species had different moral standards. Park responded by calling more witnesses. These were the prisoners that Colonel Lee had rescued from the Valkyrian camps. They testified about years of abuse, torture, murder, the systematic targeting of the weak and helpless. Park made his argument clear. Some acts transcend culture. Murder of children is not a cultural difference, it is evil. And evil must be stopped no matter which species commits it. High Counselor Vren was called to testify. He admitted that the council had received reports of Valkyrian aggression for years. They knew about attacks on other species, but they always chose negotiation over action. They thought they were maintaining peace. Vren broke down during his testimony. He confessed that the council had failed. They enabled the Valkyrians by refusing to hold them accountable. Every life lost could have been prevented if the council had acted sooner. Thrak finally spoke in his own defense. He showed no remorse. He said that strength was the only law in the universe. The weak deserved to be conquered. Those who could not defend themselves deserved to die. He claimed he did nothing wrong. Park asked Thrak a simple question. Would he feel the same if it was his children in those escape pods? If it was his family being hunted down and killed? Thrak refused to answer. Park pressed him. He asked again and again. Finally, Thrak admitted that he would want justice if his family was murdered. He would want the killers punished. Park looked at the tribunal. He said that proved everything. Even Thrak knew murder was wrong. He just thought he was above the law. He thought he was strong enough that rules did not apply to him. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Finally, the judges deliberated for 3 days. The galaxy waited anxiously for the verdict. When the judges returned, the lead judge read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. Every single charge. The evidence was overwhelming and irrefutable. War Master Thrak was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of release. All 47 of his officers received the same sentence. They would spend the rest of their lives locked away, remembering what they had done. Additionally, the Valkyrian Dominion was ordered to pay restitution to every victim's family. They were required to dismantle their military down to a small defensive force. They would be monitored for decades to ensure compliance. Lieutenant Yuna Song attended the trial as a representative of the victims' families. When reporters asked if she felt justice had been served, she gave a thoughtful answer. She said justice would be having her family back. It would be hearing her mother's voice again. It would be watching her brother graduate. It would be marrying her fiancé. True justice was impossible because the dead could not return, but this was accountability. This was the galaxy saying that murdering innocents has consequences. It was necessary, even if it could not heal all wounds. Admiral Kim watched the verdict from Earth. When it was announced, he finally allowed himself to visit his sister's memorial. He placed flowers and stood in silence for a long time. Tears ran down his face. He had delivered justice for her. It did not bring her back, but it mattered. The trial changed the galaxy. It established that some crimes could not be negotiated away. Some acts demanded accountability. The age of enabling evil for the sake of convenient peace was over. A new standard had been set. And humanity had shown the way. 6 months after the trial, the galaxy was different. The war between humanity and the Valkyrian Dominion changed everything. Species that had been silent for decades began demanding justice for past crimes. The old system of ignoring atrocities for the sake of peace was falling apart. The Galactic Council underwent major reforms. High Counselor Vren proposed creating a new enforcement division. This group would investigate crimes against civilians and hold perpetrators accountable. No longer would the Council look away from evil just because confronting it was difficult. Ambassador Jin Park was appointed as the first director of this new division. He was reluctant at first. He wanted to return home to Earth. But he understood that someone needed to ensure the reforms actually happened. Someone needed to make sure the galaxy never forgot the lessons learned. Park accepted the position with one condition. His office would have complete independence. No council member could interfere with his investigations, and he would ask one question about every case. Would we accept this being done to our children? Earth's military was officially recognized as a peacekeeping force. Other species requested human officers to train their troops. They wanted to learn human tactics and principles. They wanted to understand how to fight effectively while maintaining moral standards. Admiral Kim was offered command of the new Galactic Security Fleet. It was a position of immense power and prestige. But Kim declined. He had spent enough time at war. Now he wanted to honor the dead. Kim returned to Earth and established the New Hope Memorial Foundation. The Foundation's mission was to ensure every victim was remembered. Their stories would be preserved. Their lives would be celebrated. Kim spent his days meeting with families, collecting memories and making sure nobody was forgotten. Captain Hana Cho was promoted to admiral. She took command of a mixed-species fleet responsible for protecting civilian vessels throughout the galaxy. Under her leadership, not a single colony ship was attacked. Pirates and raiders learned quickly that Admiral Cho showed no mercy to those who targeted innocents. Hana implemented human protocols across her entire fleet. Every species learned the same principles. Protect civilians first. Never target the helpless. Show mercy to those who surrender. And never ever compromise when children are at risk. Colonel Dae-Jung Lee established a military academy on Earth. Officers from all council species came to study there. The curriculum focused on ethical warfare and protection of civilians. Lee taught that true strength was not about dominating the weak. True strength was about protecting those who could not protect themselves. The Academy's motto was simple but powerful. The strong protect. They do not exploit. Dr. Suji Kang redirected her research toward peaceful applications. She no longer wanted to build weapons of war. Instead, she developed advanced shield technology and defensive systems. She created the Kepler Defense Initiative, which provided protection systems to colony ships at no cost. Kang said that no colony ship would ever be defenseless again. Her technology saved countless lives over the following years. She found peace in knowing her work now protected people instead of destroying them. Lieutenant Yuna Song continued flying, but her missions changed. She now escorted colony ships and humanitarian convoys. She protected refugee vessels. She ensured that innocent people could travel safely. Yuna also did something surprising. She adopted 3 Velcrian orphans whose parents died in the war. People asked her how she could raise children from the species that killed her family. Yuna said that children were not responsible for their parents' crimes. These orphans deserved a chance at a good life. She would teach them the same lesson her parents taught her. Peace is built by protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The Velcrian people began a long process of change. Many young Velcrians rejected their old culture of violence. They traveled to Earth to study at Colonel Lee's academy. They wanted to understand humanity's principles. They wanted to build a better future. Some Velcrians visited the New Hope Memorial on Earth. They came to pay respects to the victims. They left flowers and notes of apology. They promised to never let such evil happen again. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything to the families. Ambassador Lyros from the Thanari Empire worked closely with Ambassador Park. She helped him write new laws protecting civilians across the galaxy. The laws were strict and clear. Targeting civilians was a crime against all species. Anyone who violated these laws would face the same tribunal that judged Thrak. 10 years after the war, a massive memorial stood on Earth. It was called the New Hope Memorial. The structure was beautiful and solemn. Inside were the names of all 15,000 victims. Holographic displays showed their faces and told their stories. An eternal flame burned in the center, never to be extinguished. School children from across the galaxy visited the memorial. They learned about what happened. They learned about the price of ignoring evil. They learned that standing up for the innocent was worth any cost. On the 10th anniversary, Ambassador Park gave a speech at the memorial. Representatives from every council species attended. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Park spoke simply but powerfully. He said that humanity did not seek war. They did not want conflict. But when faced with the murder of innocents, they refused to look away. They refused to negotiate. They refused to accept that peace could be built on the graves of children. Today, because of that refusal, the galaxy was safer. Not because humans were the strongest, but because they were unwilling to be silent in the face of evil. Many young Velcrians attended the ceremony. They stood with heads bowed, honoring the victims. They pledged to build a better culture, one based on protecting the weak instead of exploiting them. Admiral Kim stood near the eternal flame. He thought about his sister, about all the people who died that day. The war brought justice, but it could not bring them back. Still, their deaths were not meaningless. They changed the galaxy. They made it better. As the ceremony ended, a young Velcrian girl approached the memorial. She was one of Yuna's adopted daughters. She placed a white flower at the base of the flame. Then she said quietly that she was sorry for what her people did. She promised to spend her life making sure it never happened again. Yuna watched her daughter with tears in her eyes. This was why they fought. Not for revenge, not for domination, but for a future where children like this could choose peace over violence, understanding over hatred. The lesson was clear and would never be forgotten. Humanity did not negotiate with killers, and the galaxy was better for it.